Okay guys, I'm getting ready to show you the first step on making your Zentangle drawing. So the first thing you need to do is you're going to print off a picture of something real. It needs to be a realistic thing. I decided to do a sunflower. So here's my image under here. I'll print you off a color version and a black and white version. So you'll need to email me a picture of what you would like to do. You want to find something that has different shades, so it has some dark areas, some light areas, and some areas in between. You want to find something that has some distinctive lines in it because you will need to be tracing those here for the first step. You want to find something that has enough open space that you'll be able to add the Zentangles to on the inside. So if it has something with so much small detail, you're going to have a hard time with that. So you want to find a subject where you will have enough space to add some of those Zentangles in the next few steps. I will give you a transparency sheet. I've already started drawing on this one, so you wouldn't have to watch me draw the entire time. And the first thing you will need to do is, with your Crayola markers that you have in your set, you will start tracing the contour lines of your subject. The contour lines are the outer edges of your object and any sort of shadows or highlights that you have in your picture. So I already started outlining all of the petals and some of the interior of this sunflower shape. And then I'm also going to do stuff in the background. So this is a good way to show you how I can start looking for some of these lines. So the contour lines are any sort of edging that you see on your subject or in the background that you can follow a line. Some areas you might have to make an educated guess as to where that line might go because it might be a little bit blurry. Like right here, it's got some weird shadows that I want to make sure I single out because I know this area eventually will get a darker Zentangle pattern than maybe this area. This area is a little lighter. So that's why we're kind of outlining those spots. So when you go to do your Zentangles in those areas later, you know where to do them. And it also shows everyone that's looking at your picture where the outer edge of some of your pieces are. Say if I didn't outline all of the petals in the flower, then it wouldn't make as much sense when someone looks at it. They wouldn't be able to tell what it was, and you wouldn't be able to see the depth of the different layers of petals. You just want to make sure you look for all of those different sections. Now, if you make a major mistake, all you have to do is get a little water on a paper towel or a tissue and wipe it and redraw, because these are water-soluble markers and they will wipe right off. Okay, I think I have most of the lines drawn now, at least the major ones. If there's really small, teeny tiny details, I probably wouldn't worry about that. Like if you look really closely on the inside of this flower, there's almost like a crisscross pattern with the interior. I'm not going to worry about that because I'll be able to kind of do like a Zentangle pattern on the inside to resemble that if I choose to do that later on. So now I have this all outlined. I'm going to remove my photo. You're going to get your sketchbook. And you're going to turn to a blank page. We're doing this all in our sketchbook for this project. And you can see I already have one print done. So this is called a monoprint. So it's when you transfer the edging that you drew on your transparency sheet and stamping it onto your paper. And then you have it ready to outline and redraw after it dries. So I'm going to do it this way so I don't have papers bunching up right here on the table. So then you get a damp paper towel. You don't want it super sopping wet. You don't want it dripping, but you're going to wet your paper with this paper towel. And you probably want to think about putting like maybe a paper towel underneath the page you're working on so your other pages don't get wet. I didn't do that for this moment, but I'm not too worried about it since those other papers will dry eventually. Okay, and then you take your transparency sheet that you drew on. Make sure you're doing the right side. You're going to flip it upside down and make sure you get it in the spot you want it to be in, because once it's down, you don't want to move it because it will smear. And then you give it kind of a good rub. If it gets too wet in a spot, like right there, it kind of blended a little more than I wanted to, that could happen. That's okay. You just have to kind of redraw those lines later. I'm just making sure that it stamps in all the spaces on my sketchbook that I can see. And then I'll pull it up and show you guys what it looks like. Okay, that was not a bad stamp. It got a little bit, blended a little bit right there. Not too bad. I could do another one if I didn't already have the first one. This one's not too bad either. You can see it blended a little bit on me in some of the edges, but I can still see my outer edge. I can still see most of my outer edge on some of these areas too. So actually a little bit of blending is not a bad thing. It might look really cool when I go and add the Zentangles on the inside when I'm ready for that part, which will be part of step 3. Step 2 will be practicing Zentangles and getting a good amount of examples done first, and then you start adding them to the inside, which will be step 3 in the 3rd video. So after this dries, this one's dry and I can outline it. I can take a black Sharpie, or I can reuse the color of the orange marker and kind of make these lines that have kind of blurred a little bit and make them more distinct. So I can go back in and re-outline those. I'm gonna wait until this one is dry so I don't smear it or anything. But I would go in and redo all of these lines on the inside so I have very distinctive contour line on my subject. Okay, so I will show you step 2 on Tuesday.